Hey, this is Bud Gibson. I'm the director of the Center for Digital Engagement at Eastern Michigan University, and I'm here with the host of Digital Live, Marisa Salice. And we were just having a little conversation about difficult to pronounce names, and just before going on here. And fortunately, I believe I'm getting Marisa's name correct. So, Marisa, who do we have on with us today?
Yeah, today we have two digital summer clinic interns from 2020, Vardan Sargisian and Justin Walters.
And now, did they? What they were digital summer clinic interns? Did they work at the same company, or are they from
No,
different companies?
yeah, they both worked at different companies. Justin worked at Project Synergy and Vardan worked at B School Travel.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to let you guys take it away.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you both for being here. I'm so excited to hear from you both. It's good to see your faces after a couple months off. And to our viewers, we'll be having a Q&A afterwards, so feel free to put any questions in the comment section for the two of them. So we'll jump right in. So Justin, why don't you go first? Can you tell us a little bit about your background, where you go to school, your year, what you're studying, anything that you're interested in?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. But yeah, so I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. Born there, and I went to Eastern Michigan University, and I'm going to graduate in December with my degree in marketing. So that's very exciting. And just things I'm interested in. I'm really interested in business. I'm really interested in climate change, saving the world, things like that. Which kind of led me to down to like my career path of kind of getting involved with more local politics and things like that. But we'll get into that later, though. But yeah, that's really
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, definitely really cool. I know I share a same interest for environmental advocacy, so that's really great to
Oh,
see.
cool.
So Vardan, what about you? Tell me a little bit about your background, where you go to school, your year, program, things that you're interested in.
For sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I'm Vardan and I'm from Armenia. I lived in Canada. I live here now. And so I'm in my last year of my communication technology program at Eastern, which basically you choose like a technical discipline, and I choose graphic design, and you sort of round it out with communication theory and other media production and stuff. So I'm really interested in really all forms of media communication, and then more specifically how people interact with that cross culturally. Like I'm from a very like diverse background, and so I'm really interested in people and how they interact with the technology.
Yeah, definitely. That's super cool. I loved hearing about your experience in the clinic too with all of that. So it was really great. So Justin, tell me about your experience in the clinic. What company did you work for? What do they do? And then tell me a little bit about what you did there.
Yeah, for sure. So I work for Project Synergy, and so Project Synergy, in a nutshell, so it's a cloud-based solution, and it helps automotive suppliers manage all their aspects of building prototypes and all their pre-production operations, and while meeting just like OEM requirements. So in layman's terms, it kind of helps things run a lot more efficiently for automotive suppliers. So one of the things that I did there, they really focused a lot on marketing. Considering this was kind of like a business to business structure, the marketing was, and also a startup, and there's only two people, so they don't really have an expertise in, specifically marketing or specifically in a couple places. So it was up to me and my fellow intern to create some of that content that they're going to use for their LinkedIn pages, use for their sales decks, and then also, just kind of reaching out to other stakeholders in the company, and then also, partners with the company, facilitating that and really getting a good understanding of how they can reach out to more businesses using social media and also updating their website. So got a lot of good experience doing that as well.
Yeah, super cool. So what about you, Vardan? What was your experience like in the clinic? What company did you work for, and what do they do, and what were you able to do for them?
So I work for a company called B School Travel, and they do immersion travel for specifically for MBA students. So that was right up my alley, cultures and travel and all this stuff. And so I did a lot of like technical production works, like did a promotional video, made some graphical elements, some tweaks on websites. But the main thing was they were they were going through a pretty big rebrand. They were changing their name, their logo, so their where they were in the market. And so I got to be there with them from a business perspective, like where the company was evolving. And so I helped design this investor deck, which they would pitch to like venture capitalists, and so they can get more money for their new venture. And in the process of that, I got to really like understand where that brand was going. And so right near the end of the internship, like last 2 weeks, they sort of dropped these two pretty big projects on me where they wanted another logo and a whole new website for their, like a temporary website for their new brand. And there's about 20 hours left. I gave them a best shot, but we ended up working past the internship for the next month or so, getting that finished. But that website was really the bigger thing in hindsight. What I worked on, which was it was a good experience to be able to make a WordPress website from scratch and really take ownership of it.
Yeah, definitely. That's really, really interesting, especially like with that time limit. That probably would stress me out. So, good job for you. Like, great job. So Justin, tell me, I know we talked a little bit about what you did at Project Synergy, but talk to me a little bit about what you accomplished and how you're applying that to, your current studies. And I know that you have an internship as a community outreach intern with Congressman Andy Levin. So tell me a little bit about that and, how you applied what you learned at Project Synergy to what you're doing now.
Yeah, definitely. So some of the things that I had accomplished, besides, creating that content, and that's something that a lot of people struggle with. I'm really glad I got some hands-on experience being able to see what works, see what doesn't work, be able to get that direct feedback from, like the founders of the company. So being able to see that and kind of being able to have that independence and almost running, some aspects of the social media, I feel like that was really a big accomplishment. And then, also being able to reach out to people in new ways that they may not have thought of, kind of providing them insight on using LinkedIn and getting the most out of, Google Analytics and stuff like that. That was really rewarding. But I think besides the technical stuff, honestly, the biggest takeaway and the biggest thing that I got from my internship that I'm applying to my position now. So for those that don't know, I work as an outreach intern for Congressman Andy Levin in Michigan's 9th District. So the biggest thing was I did so much onboarding and like so much pre-reading and like trying to get accustomed and acquainted to the environment I was going in with Project Synergy. I was like, and I really didn't have an intention of working in an environment with Project Synergy. Like the whole automotive thing wasn't really my thing. Like, but being able to do that made me see how applicable marketing and specifically digital marketing is in so many places. So that really inspired me to don't feel limited just by the word marketing, because it's really applicable anywhere. So right now I'm working, in the political realm. It's like, and that's all marketing. So I feel like that's one of the biggest things. It really kept, it opened the door a lot wider in terms of, what I think is possible in terms of digital marketing, what I can do with it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's some great insight. I totally see what you mean about, not being limited when it comes to marketing and how things can be cross-related. So Vardan, tell me a little bit about what you accomplished at B School of Travel and how that is currently applying to, your career plans. I know I really loved hearing all of the interesting things that you wanted to do in your career during our time in the clinic. So I'd love for you to expand on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd laid out some pretty long-term goals earlier in the clinic, like moving countries and everything. But I think on the short term, I learned a lot more from the business side of things, like a lot of business communication. Like I think like being able to communicate, seeing where their brand's going in the really early stages, and being able to sort of stand firm as the expert in communications and treat them as a client, sort of help them navigate like where they're going, how they want to communicate their message. So a lot of communication, business communication is like what I learned, organizational communication. Yeah, I mean this is a big part of it. I feel like I've worked with a lot of startups in the past, but this is definitely much smaller and earlier stages of one. So learning to treat myself as the like the expert in my field, and treating them as a client and being able to work that relationship.
Yeah, super cool. So I just want to hear from both of you for this last question before we head to some Facebook Live questions. We'll start with Justin. How has the clinic shaped your career aspirations and goals?
Definitely. So I actually haven't had a lot of experience with startups. I worked with a lot of nonprofits, however, like I used to work with the Detroit Institute of Arts, the Henry Ford Motor Company Fund. And so what I kind of realized about my career through this experience is that like these skills are applicable to any size business. So that really kind of opened me up. Like I said, it kind of made me want to get more focused on what I want to do rather than what the market has prepared for me. It kind of encouraged me more to go after the things I am passionate about, like social justice, environmental change, and all that. So it kind of just put a gear in me a little bit to kind of go after what I want to do. So yeah.
Yeah, that's super great. What about you, Bardian?
Well, for me, despite learning the business side of things, I think I realized I'm more suited for more of a producer sort of role, and I'm looking forward to working like in a creative agency and doing a lot more production work and that sort of thing. But I really appreciated um, that perspective. I've tried my hand at freelance and everything, but I think I definitely appreciate task focused like constraints and all that stuff.
Yeah, very cool. So now I'm going to turn it over to Bud for some Facebook questions. So
Okay, great. Well, we've had a few. And so we have this question from none other than Gabby Giannuzzi Paul, who was also an intern last summer. And she says, how did you like working remotely over this summer? So just kind of a little bit of background. As we look forward to the clinic this coming year, people are asking me, they're saying, well, gee, is it going to be remote? And at this juncture, our response is we're not really sure. It's going to depend on prevailing conditions, but I do think there'll be an element of that. So you guys can speak to that. And did you learn new skills that you think will help you in the future? And I think she's referring again to the remote work. So how'd you like working remotely, and did you learn new skills?
Um, I can say that I really so I'm kind of used to the remote learning setting. I've taken online classes, but this is really it was brand new. So I think this is probably my first introduction to stuff like Zoom, being able to customize your Zoom, put on a background, go to meeting and all that. So it kind of got me more acquainted with more online tools, and then especially considering that digital media, digital marketing is kind of like the area that we're kind of going into. Uh, that's what kind of shows you that the landscape is going to change, and these are all things that we just really need to equip in our toolboxes. So I think it was really helpful on that front.
Yeah, I think it's very valuable um, to be able to have an experience fully online. Like I personally prefer being in a physical setting with people and interacting, just being somewhere physical. But it it's really important to be able to be self-sufficient in some ways. Like um, you're your own entity almost, and no one's really gonna spoon feed you those skills. So it's really important that being able to build your routines, your regimens, like just being a almost like a freelancer from home. Um, so yeah, I think it's like a bitter pill to swallow, but I think it's a very important thing to be able to work remotely.
Okay, great. Well, interesting. Now we'll do two more questions, and I've got one from someone suspiciously named Terry Walters, and it's for Justin. And Justin, do you think your current internship will spark an interest in pursuing something in the political arena?
Yeah, I feel like I really enjoy the feeling of just getting to work with people directly and being able to see how my work directly affects other people. Like I said, I had a lot of nonprofit experience, and I feel like being able to focus on something besides the bottom line of the company is something I'm really geared towards. So I really want to be able to. It seems like love it or hate it, politics is here to stay for a little bit. So you might see my hat, you might vote for me in 2036. Who knows?
So you heard the date here first, folks. All right. So someday somebody will be troving back through the internet archives and they'll discover the young Justin Walters making his 2036 announcement. That's 16 years from now. Now, Vardon, not to leave you in the cold, our final question from Jamie Ward, one of the mentors in this year's clinic, is addressed to you. And she says, uh, Vardon, you've done a lot of freelance work, and I remember having these conversations with you, by the way, Vardon. And how is this experience different? So the experience of doing the internship different than working with a freelance client?
In some ways, it wasn't different. I almost from start to finish treated it like they were a client, and I had to represent myself well. But there's definitely a little more formality and um, being a part of the internship. But I think as we got our relationships established, we were learning mutually how we work with each other best, and uh, we sort of got into it. And obviously, near the end of it, it did turn into another freelance position as we continued to work past the internship. So.
All right, so before we head out, I just want to thank everyone for watching Digital Live, and thank you, Justin and Vardan, for being here. It was great having you on and seeing you all again. So everyone can continue to keep up to date with our Digital Lives every Wednesday at 5 p.m. And also be sure to look out for our digital marketing workshop that's happening November 9th through the 13th. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks so much.